Okay.
Welcome to Sibling Scribbles. My name is Marin.
My name is Johnny.
And today we're going to be doing a creative corner in one of the many corners of my vast apartment.
Great use of vast.
Thanks.
Um,
Thanks.
oh,
Today we're turning the turntables, as one might say. You said not to mess with your wire, and like the moment we start, you just start like lassoing it.
I'm a cowboy. I am a sound cowboy.
We are going to be talking about one of John's stories today.
Yes. This is a big reason that we do Creative Corner, is because it is scary. It is very scary to do it. You see, in Creative Corner, we talk about projects that we have sat on for a while, or projects that we are planning on working on in the near future. And so we work on them together live so that you can see the nitty gritty, dirty, nasty business.
No nasty.
No nasty. that goes into creating works of art. So
We are going to be talking about the story. The last time I heard this pitch, it was kind of a different story. It was a little bit more of a short story, or like a little kid's book.
this is
Like a little Roald Dahl moment.
okay. Yeah.
But now it's not.
No, it's not. I mean, I still think that I want to aim it at that audience, right? I still think that I do want it to be for them.
But it's not like a chapter book.
No.
Yeah.
It's much less Magic Tree House and much more Terry Pratchett, right? Like it's a little more of that. Excuse me, I'm dying.
It's true. The baby is coming.
The baby is. I have coughing disease, like most movie characters. I have the coughing disease, and I will die soon.
Also featured here today are John's dino socks, my quilt flipped over made by my grandmother.
Okay, we're getting into it. We're getting into it. The name of the story is The Dark Lord. Oh, we have to sync up your iPad.
1, 2, 3.
The name of the story is The Dark Lord's Home for Chosen One Boys. I'm just gonna go, right? I'm just gonna talk about this. I'm just gonna talk about this, and you will draw and write. So, The Dark Lord's Home for Chosen One Boys is it's sprung from the story seed of like a Tumblr post or something. I remember seeing something that, there's like a Dark Lord, and the doors open up to his throne room, and he's like, you finally arrived, a hero to defeat me. And then he goes, what the crud? Like, you're like 7. And the hero is like, yeah, I will defeat you. I have a sword, the chosen sword. The Dark Lord's like, why? Like, what?
Are you 7?
Like, what? He's like, dude, you're a child. You can't be fighting me. And the kid's like, I have a magic sword to defeat you. And he's like, no. Who's sending these kids with swords after me? And this is the original idea. The original idea kind of sprung from that post. And at first I was like, that's a fun, kind of goofy story idea. And then it kind of evolved into something new. So this is the pitch now. Once upon a time, there is a world where at a certain age, you are able to tap into certain powers. Everybody in the world has these powers. They are very like minor, right? Not everybody is super proficient with them, and not all of them are very useful, but everyone gets them. There's a boy who lives in one of these towns who, on the day that he, performs the ritual to get his powers, like everyone else in his town, and they're all the same power, right? Like, depending on where you're from and all that, like, it is a like cultural thing. Like, no, you don't have a ton of random powers. Everyone has kind of a similar one from the same town you're from. Well, they this young boy is given on this day. Someone arrives, and when he receives his powers, this like old witch lady gives him an axe, and this axe has a prophecy written into it. And when he uses this axe, he can use the powers that everybody else has, but to a much greater degree. To a much, much greater degree. And he is shunned for that. People don't like it. People are not happy. Boys shouldn't have superpowers, and boys shouldn't have axes, and they should not have prophecies. It's not natural. So...
might as well give them the right to vote, right?
Right, yeah, no, forget it. And so
His name's Terry. His name's...
Sure, I don't have a name for him yet. I like Terry.
Mongoose.
Mongoose? Call him Goose.
Terry Mongoose.
Call him Goose.
All right. There he is.
So Goose gets bullied, gets harassed, but most importantly, he gets kidnapped.
Oof.
Yep, some people show up and they're like, we hear there's a boy with a prophecy axe. And they're like, yeah, we'll take him away. And so the boy gets taken away. He's in this cart, and he can only use these powers to their fullest extent when he's holding the axe. He has to be touching the axe to have access to these powers.
Access.
What do you... Okay.
Get it?
No, I do not.
Access?
Oh. This has been Sibling Scribbles. My name's Johnny.
Goose and the Dark One.
The Dark Lord.
The Dark Lord.
Yes, and that's important too. The Dark Lord is the Dark Lord is this horrible figure who has this big tower, and he releases monsters from this tower, and they rampage across the land. And the kid, Goose, I guess is what we're calling him. Goose.
Name holder. That's not his actual name.
Goose learns about, knows that there are heroes. There are people out there who have magnificent powers, and they're able to defeat these monsters. But it's not going to help him now. He's in the back of this carriage being brought to the Dark Lord. And he's not happy about that. But what can he do? Well, a group of heroes arrive to rescue him. Oh, they have magnificent powers, and they're here to get him out of the cart, and they're here to give him his axe. And then he realizes that all of these heroes are boys his age. And these boys are also have magnificent powers, but they are just, 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we go to this school, right? There's this main kid. This main kid has this big paladin energy, right? Very, he talks like this, and he believes in the goodness of mankind.
Yeah.
Right?
His name is Artie.
Sure, yeah, I like that. Name is Art. His name's Art, and Art says, you can come and you can study at the school for chosen one boys. And Goose is like, I know a friggin' scam when I hear one. But Goose is not trusting. He is untrusting. He's never been, he is kind of a layabout kid. He's not like very, athletic, and he's not very social. And so he's like a delinquent, right? We're doing little quote here. He's a delinquent.
Deli meat.
Deli meat? Okay.
That's shorthand.
Okay. Well, he arrives at the school, and they start learning how to do all these things. And sometimes, or a few times, he gets approached by this man in armor. When they're out practicing in the woods or going on hikes, this dark knight arrives, and this dark knight taunts him and teases him and pokes him and prods him and tells him that the Dark Lord is looking for him, and he's owed to the Dark Lord. He doesn't belong at this school. He's a bad kid. Ooh, he's a deli meat delinquent kid.
Deli meat.
Well, Goose starts to get pissed, right? Goose doesn't like that. Goose like, this school is rather close to the Dark Lord's tower. And so he says, forget it. I'm going to go and I'm going to go handle the Dark Lord myself. I'm very powerful. I have these new abilities. I'm going to go handle the Dark Lord all on my own. Can't get up the tower.
Short.
Because he's short. Among other things.
And non-athletic.
Yes. Well, yeah, he's not super happy about it.
A failure.
But he starts to notice there are other students at this school who have abilities and that are useful to him. So he begins recruiting these other kids to help him get up the tower. And so every time something gets in his way, he goes back and he recruits another kid and he goes to the tower again. And so the whole story is him putting together a team and discovering things about the magic system and discovering things about the world so that they can break into this tower and curb stomp the Dark Lord. The B plot of this story is that the headmaster of this school is a balding, normal guy, not athletic, not ripped.
Yeah.
He's just accountant dude. He actually is the Dark Lord. Big twist. Big surprise. That's the big twist. Not really, though. The Dark Lord is just a bureaucrat. He's just some dude who worked for a previous Dark Lord, and the Dark Lord died, and this guy was given an immense amount of power and responsibility, and so he cosplays as the Dark Lord, trying to keep the entire country in check. And the truth is, he's just a normal, nice guy. And all those monsters that are rampaging across the land, he is actually trying to capture them and study them and keep them from doing that. And they're just very powerful monsters and keep escaping. And he's like, well, crap. So somebody keeps sending these boys to go kill the Dark Lord with magical weapons, with prophecies on them. So all the boys, even Artie, all the boys have their own magical weapon with a prophecy, and it gives them their powers. And the Dark Lord is like, gosh dang it, there's so many of these kids. Who keeps doing this? And so he puts them into a school to train them to be protectors of the realm. And he acts as the Dark Lord on purpose, deceives everyone on purpose, so that there can be an ultimate evil for them to fight. So that they can go out into the world when they're older and they can defeat real evil. Well, he's having a hard time dating. And his B plot is about him trying to keep his Dark Lord side a secret from the boys, while also trying to date powerful, evil people also in the realm. Right? Like people who want to be the Dark Queen, right? Like, and he's like, okay, I mean, yeah, sure, whatever. And he doesn't think like, okay, like no one is like really out for world domination, right? Like most people are misunderstood. Like I'm gonna just date around, see if this will work out. Well,
did you say he was balding or does he have hair?
Nope, he's balding. I have a picture of the dude that I think that this should look like. It's a dude from one of my jobs that I had forever ago. My idea was, is it right here? Best of December. So the big trick is, oh, come on. The big trick with this story is playing off these two sides, right? Where the Dark Lord and Goose are both kind of where'd it go? That is super weird. Huh, I guess the Dark Lord doesn't like having his photo taken. His name was Eric. Eric was the Dark. It was based off of Eric, the Dark Lord. The trick in this story, I think, the fun part to me is balancing the two characters. This character who is a young boy who is disliked even among the other hero boys, right? Because he's a delinquent and he doesn't play nice and he doesn't play by the rules. And the Dark Lord, who is who's just like a normal, like, he's an office worker guy. He's kind of boring, actually. But because he has a strange job, he's also kind of, like, not very well accepted or very well liked. Like, he has all the teachers at the school are actually his cronies, right? They're actually his Dark Lord cronies. And so they all like, oh yeah, we love you, boss. You're the best, boss. But he's also a little strange. He's also like not fully appreciated. That's kind of the fun part for me. The big final reveal, right? Eventually, Goose even gets Artie on the team, right? He convinced Artie to come and join the team. So he has this group of boys that are all, he's put together a team to defeat the Dark Lord. And at the end, all the other boys, their plan is they're going to release all of the monsters in the entire place, right? And they're going to release them so that all the monsters get released. All the boys run off except for Goose, and Goose goes to confront the Dark Lord. And Goose kind of like defeats the Dark Lord. He like knocks off his mask and he reveals that Eric is the Dark Lord. Principal Eric is the Dark Lord. And Goose is like, what the heck is this?
Is it Principal or Principal?
Principal.
You didn't choose either answer.
Principal. Did you spell it with a U?
You said Paul. I said Paul.
Gosh dang it. I knew it. I didn't even see it, and I knew it. But
it's the couch interfering.
Principal, the couch people. Principal Eric says, listen, people, like, especially when you're young, you need to understand certain things. And if you want me to be the villain, I can be the villain. But you're clearly old enough, you're clearly strong enough to understand that life is not so black and white. And you are not a delinquent child. And you are not evil. And this kid's like, well, what about your Dark Knight you keep sending after me? And he's like, right, that's some other kid that used to be here. And when he found out that I was the Dark Lord, it made him angry. And it made him upset that I would deceive him like this. And I understand, but he doesn't understand yet that that this world is out to get you. And so if someone's going to be the villain, I am going to be the villain for you guys. And of course, the Goose is like, okay, I don't totally get it. He's like, but what about all your monsters that we released? And Principal Eric is like, what? You released all the monsters? Those aren't my monsters. I can't control them. And Goose is like, oh no.
Oh no.
And so Principal Eric tells him, like, look, this is how you, like, he teaches him a lesson. And in that lesson, Goose learns how to unlock new aspects of his powers. And he runs out, and him and his team defeat all the monsters. And then when the Dark Lord comes to taunt them, he has an opportunity to reveal Principal Eric, and he chooses not to. He says, we'll get you next time, Dark Lord. And his friend's like, what happened? He's like, it was too strong for me. I couldn't beat him. And besides, I knew you guys were in trouble, so I came to help you out. And so that the story is about kind of an older brother with his younger siblings. Cute. learning this lesson about lies and truth and about all this stuff. Meanwhile, the Dark Lord finds out that the lady he's dating is actually the one behind releasing all these monsters, and she's the one working with the Dark Knight. And he breaks up with her, and he's like, hey, just so you know, if you ever touch these kids again, if you ever get close to these kids again, I will destroy you. And she's like, oh yeah, how? And then he reveals his power. And the Dark Lord actually is the most powerful being on the entire planet. Eric is the most powerful person in the entire world, and he keeps it a secret from the boys and from everybody. Because, and then I have like a whole backstory for him, but like it's not important to this story, right?
He has a cape.
The point is that Principal Eric actually truly is protecting these boys, and he is capable of protecting these boys, and he does not use his full power for these boys. So that's it. That is the whole story. That is the whole thing that I've come up with so far. That is what I want to do. I have like a whole 5-book like series idea, but I'm keeping it. I'm not working on any of those other things. I'm just working on this one right now, The Dark Lord's Home for Chosen One Boys.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I really like it. It's much differenter than I remember it being.
It's evolved a lot.
Originally, it was this boy. He shows up at the Dark Lord's home to defeat him, and the Dark Lord is like eating dinner, and he's like, come in. and the boy's like, hold on 1 second. We're here to fight you with the prophecy. And he's like, no, you can stay here.
There's a lot of prophecies.
Yeah, and like someone keeps sending boys. So originally I thought that it would be, this is distracting me. Assume this is here. Originally it was going to be like this guy, and he's sending people to the Dark Lord's home.
I see.
Or it's like the woman. The woman was sending people to the Dark Lord's home.
And
And
like a fairy. Yeah.
right. And he's like, stop sending boys. I have like an orphanage going here now.
Right.
I kind of like this too. This is nice. So what are the parts where you are kind of
Unsure.
yeah. Like, what are you prepared to get gutted today?
Oh, I'm ready for anything to get gutted.
Okay.
Look, I am here for a whatever makeover. That's the truth. It's like I pitch this to like Haley a lot, and I love Haley, and Haley's wonderful, and Haley's very, very smart, and she understands stories way better than I do. But Haley is my wife, and sometimes she holds back because she's my wife.
Right.
And I appreciate that, and I love her. But if the whole point of Creative Corner is everything gets ripped apart.
Okay, then I'm just going to start asking questions.
Go for it. Go for it.
What's that one story about the mom and Caleb were really into it for a little bit, and there's this old guy.
Oh shoot!
And this boy and these other kids, they take a test and then they go and work for this old guy, and they get sent to the school.
I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a Disney Plus one season, and then it got canceled. I know Mom got really she read it at Aspen Grove, and they got really excited and built a pillow fort. I remember that.
Yeah, that sounds like Mom.
I know the one you're talking about. I don't know the name of it, but I know the one you're talking about.
It kind of has a lot of vibes like that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm going for.
Because at the end it's revealed that it was actually his evil twin, and you're like, oh.
Not that. Not that. Okay.
Love an evil twin story.
We're not doing evil twin story.
Okay, so what's his power?
Right. His power is that he can store passive or potential energy into kinetic energy.
Oh, cool.
So he can store tons and tons of potential energy just by sitting around and not doing anything. And then once he's stored a ton of it up, then he can use that stored energy and convert it into a powerful like bursts of kinetic energy.
Like a hyper beam.
I think eventually, but in this story, it's simply moving quickly and jumping high and punching hard and putting kinetic energy into other things and making them explode, right?
Cool. Kind of like the Pink Panther suit. One more time.
What?
The Black Panther suit.
Now that's a movie I would watch. It's Pink Panther. Pink Panther forever. Yes, very much like that. Very much like that.
Okay.
The whole magic system, and this is the other thing about this story that I haven't gotten into. The magic system I've been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson, not real.
Thank you.
And he, I respect your pronouns.
Thank you.
Your
My
pronouns are Brandon Sanderson does not exist.
Indeed.
But the magic system, I wanted to make a hard magic system. I wanted to try making a hard magic system and seeing if it worked. And I liked what I came up with. All it is that people can absorb different types of energy depending on where they're from, and they can expel certain types of energy depending on where they're from. So Art, right? Arthur, I guess is what we're calling him. Artie is a sun eater, is what he's called. People call him that, like derogatorily, because he can absorb light and he can expel it as heat. Right. So he can just he just stays outside all day, and it gives him his power passively. Right. He just sits outside with his cool epic sword, and then he gets up in the morning. Then he just goes and fights all day, and he can shoot flames everywhere. Right. He's literally just a little sun. He's the golden boy.
Right.
Right. And so, of course, that ticks off Goose, right? Goose is like, this kid. Art's like, we have to defeat the Dark Lord so that light can, people can be good. It's like, shut up, Artie. Like, Artie, it's just dark in this room. We needed someone who could just break the chains on this thing. Could you?
Okay, so we have heat, we have potential, and kinetic.
Mm-hmm. I've got a whole friggin' list. You ready for this?
Actually,
we're not going to dive.
That's like cool details.
But it's not actually super important to the main story, right?
Yeah. So let's think about this. So Principal Eric's trying to train these boys. So why doesn't he just bring them here and have a Percy Jackson, Hogwarts, school place where these kids can train to become better?
Is that not what I said?
Well, he said he's doing it secretly.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. So Principal Eric is a public figure. This isn't like a secret place, right? People know this place exists.
Okay.
But Principal Eric is secretly the Dark Lord, right? That's the secret part.
Mm-hmm. Right. So why isn't he publicly the Dark Lord?
Because people want to kill him. He is blamed for a lot of things.
Oh.
People want him to die.
So the Dark Lord is like so was he ever actually evil? Like, does he have like a cool, like, he used to actually be the bad guy and then he was like accidentally fell into like a hero situation, Megamind style, and now he's a principal? I
don't want him to be. I think that it'd be interesting if he was if he was evil, he worked for the previous Dark Lord. That's kind of like the joke to me, is that like, because of like property law, right? He is technically the Dark Lord. Like, legally, at some point in the past, he tried to really fight it, and people were like, no, you're the Dark Lord. Like, and he was like, gosh, okay, fine. Like, my castle has skulls on it. I wear a long cape because of legal reasons, but
right.
Fine.
So if he's legally the Dark, so you mean all of his lackeys?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are like, yeah, you're the Dark Lord.
You're the Dark Lord. You're the Dark Lord, sir. That's you. You're the Dark Lord.
Right.
I think maybe at some point in the past, maybe he did try to say, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to be the Dark Lord. I'm going to disband the kingdom. And then he realized that, one, he held a lot of power, and that was going to be good because he could do a lot of good from that position. And secondly, he held a lot of power among other evil beings, and he could control and manipulate and bully other evil people as the Dark Lord. And he realized that parading as the Dark Lord, pretending to be him, was actually more beneficial to the land than disbanding the Dark Lord's kingdom and letting other things run rampant.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. It just has to be like real clear.
Okay, that's going to have to come out through the dates then.
Yeah.
He's going to, because you're right. It doesn't make a ton of sense for just some random dude to be in this position.
To be like cosplaying as the Dark Lord on the side, like a weird LARPer.
Right. When I agree. It needs to be a very clear answer.
He needs to kind of be cool, even though he is this nerdy person.
Right, because what this is a story about a dad, right? This is a story about a dad. This kid is learning about how his dad is like, oh, you're a dumb office worker. I don't like you. Oh, wait a minute, Dad. You're actually very influential and powerful. What?
Right. And that's kind of a story that isn't told.
No, it's not. this story is about a boy learning, like in its soul, right? Archetypally, this is a story about learning about your dad. This is a story about learning about Santa Claus, right? This is a story about learning about how, you know, you're a kid, you don't totally get it,
Right.
right? But
He's an office worker.
he's an officer, yeah. But logically, you're right. Logically, for the story to function, it needs to be very clear why Eric is, why be like pretending to be the Dark Lord when he's not truly an evil person is beneficial.
Right.
So that has to come out through him dating evil people and the boys fighting super evil monsters.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So is he the one catching these monsters?
Yeah, he is trying to. Right. He is trying to figure out what the monsters are and what they're doing and how they're doing this stuff. And he does release some of these easier monsters into the wild for the boys to fight. Right. He's like, this is just, I don't understand what these monsters are. I don't understand how they're existing. I don't understand, like, if I could figure this out, if I could stop these monsters from being created, then we wouldn't even need Chosen One boys.
What if he isn't actually releasing the monsters? What if they're just accidentally getting out? And he's like, ooh. But he can't be in multiple places at once. So
Okay. Yeah.
So that the boys are like, he's so evil, the Dark Lord. And the principal's like, gosh dang it. I really need to fix that.
Goes back to his mooks and he's like, who the frick? Who closed last night? Who was on closing last night?
Right.
What? Jerry. Jerry, you're lucky we run a school of superpowered children.
We live next to a village.
Dude, the economy is in shambles, Jerry.
We can't keep doing this, Jerry. He's like, I'm sorry.
Jerry's like, I'm sorry, master. I'm sorry. He's like, don't call me master. Headmaster.
Master.
It's headmaster.
Yeah. I think that would be funnier
Okay.
of that. It's like totally accidental, but it keeps happening. And,
Right,
and
yeah.
he's like, oh my gosh, I'm trying.
Do I have to do everything myself?
Yeah. Where like he has all of these very endearing
Yes,
people.
I like that.
And he's like, you're teachers. And they're
Yeah.
like, no,
They're like,
we're
I know how to
henchmen.
crack skulls. And he's like, okay, listen, Jerry, listen.
We can use this. We can use this.
Good, that's good, that's good. Let's I'm good at making poisons. All right, you're teaching kids about plants. Okay, yes, of course.
Yeah. See, I think that would be cool, where he's just like an actually
so-
stand-up good guy, and
Wait,
he's just
all of his mooks are like very clearly evil, but they're like
Yes.
obeying him because they think this is part of some like long game evil plan.
he's like, and then we'll trick them, gain their trust,
Right.
then we'll kill them.
All of his henchmen think they're like, he's like, okay, you're teaching the boys how to cook, and they're like, of course, sire. He's like, no, you're just
We're making omelets this week. Yeah.
Oh, yes, good.
Omelets. No.
Like the henchmen talking to each other are like, the Dark Lord's ways are masterful and brilliant.
Mysterious.
Eric is like, son of a bitch.
He's like, I have a second date. Everyone keep it together.
Yeah, like, I'm going to be gone for one evening. One evening. Do not let any kids out. Do not let any kids get out. And they're like, of course, big wink. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Maybe that makes it a little bit more corny, a little bit more Roald Dahl-y, or
Terry Pratchett. Look, that's kind of the point,
or
though.
kind of has that. I don't know. It's that flavor of their kind of unique writing choice.
Right. I something like Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson's a big inspiration for this.
Yeah.
Percy Jackson is a book that is very self-aware, right? Percy is constantly telling gods, like, hey, you should play with your dog more often, right? Like that is
Right.
funny because Percy is telling the god of death to play with his dog.
Yeah.
That's funny. But this story is a little bit of a parody of lots of other like fantasy stories.
Combination of lots of things.
Yeah, it's chosen ones and dark lords and monsters and superpowers, and all of these things together are kind of a strange little concoction that allows me to make fun of those archetypes, right?
I like that. I think that's good.
Right. But I still want it to be a satisfying story, a real purposeful story.
Yeah. In that case, we got to make Principal Eric like the straight man, basically.
Yeah, constantly.
Right. Where he's like, oh my gosh.
I see. Principal Eric is like never funny, right? Principal Eric is like constantly just trying to keep everything together.
And also he's trying to connect with the boys at the same time because he doesn't
Right.
understand them, and they're like, ugh, stupid principal. And
Yeah, Goose is like constantly acting out, and he's like, look, I just need to sit down and talk with him. And every time he tries to sit down and talk with Goose, something happens to interrupt what eventually will be a powerful moment between the two of them.
Okay, I like that. Okay, does Goose have parents, or is he an orphan?
Gotta be an orphan.
Okay,
Are
are they all orphans?
No. No. Goose has a mom
Okay.
because Artie hero worships his dad. Right? And my big plan is that if this becomes something, that down the road each book is going to be focused on a different character. Right, so this book is about Goose, and the next book is going to be about a girl who's sent by the scorned lover of the villain's scorned lover, right?
The evil
lady that he was dating.
lady.
She finds a girl and gives her a prophecy, and so this girl is sent to the chosen one, the school
boys'
for chosen one
school.
boys, to get in their way. And the third book, I think it was going to be about a kid with no powers. The fourth book is about Artie. And Artie hero worships his dad. He's constantly talking about how great his dad is. He's a soldier and he fights in wars and he kills monsters, and I'm going to be like my dad. And the whole joke is that, like, Goose is furious about that because he doesn't have a dad.
Right.
And so in this book, at least, it works really well. But the big punchline is that when they do go and visit them over the summer, their parents are dating.
gasp.
Originally, they were both orphans, but I realized it would make more sense if Goose and Artie hated each other because Goose doesn't have any male role models in his life, and Artie only has good male role models, but he's never had like a mom to be like to mother, and so he actually mothers, right, because of that.
Right. I'm gonna stop this, and when we're using it again,
Sure.
I'll bring it back up. Just because it'll.
Yeah.
Weird. So why does she not? Okay, sorry. Have you seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah.
Do you know the woman who, is the supervisor of Captain Holt?
Oh, Wench.
Yeah.
Wench.
Wench. Is she like that? Where she's like, I hate him, but I secretly like him, and,
Right.
and it's just weird.
I actually really like that idea, where like her relationship with the Dark Lord is like she also is kind of like these henchmen. She thinks she's part of this like twisted game between these two like super powerful lovers. I'm playing like 4D chess, right? Like, oh, did I release those monsters? Who knows, right? Like, and he's like, very, very clever of you. I see what you were trying to tell me. He's like, why can't dating be normal?
Right.
I like that. I like that idea a lot. My idea was that he's trying. He is a straight man, right? And he's a very boring straight man, trying to date very powerful, bizarre people because those are in like kind of his tax bracket, right?
Right.
You can't
That's funny.
date some woman from the town, right? He's the Dark Lord, and so he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll try to find an evil queen. So of course, like the first thing that happens is she starts dating actual evil queens, right? I kind of imagined her like a succubus the first time around, right? That she's actually kind of an evil seductress, but
right.
But do you think that it would work better if she was more of a? I like the idea of.
Is she an ex?
She will be.
So are they currently dating? Or did they just go on one date and she's like
they're going on
in
dates
raptures
throughout the book, right?
Oh,
throughout the
okay.
book, and I think that she doesn't actually like him for who he is, right? She
likes the power.
Yeah, she's like, you're the Dark Lord, that's hot, right? But like, she is the kind of person where if you met her, you're like, oh, you are an ex, right? It doesn't matter that we haven't dated yet. Like
Right.
you're an ex waiting to happen.
Right. Okay. So she's kind of this wench.
Yeah. I don't know if would it work, because Goose's story is about finding strong, is about kind of growing up, right? And the Dark Lord is kind of going through this midlife crisis. He's also kind of growing up, right? He's accepting a little more responsibility.
Well, when you become an adult, you realize that you're still a kid. You just are a kid in an older body, basically.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, even dads, people are like, oh, they're supposed to know everything. And it's like,
not even close, man.
no, they just got handed to you on the way out of the hospital.
Yeah. As someone who that happened to.
Yeah, and you just like, they have to raise you. And so people were like, I blame my parents for everything. It's like, okay, well, if they were actually bad people, then yeah, that's fine. But if they just were normal human beings trying to figure it out, then it's like, yeah, they're actually probably in the same headspace as you are.
Okay. Then my question is, with that in mind, would it make more sense for Eric to actively be the Dark Lord running the school?
As a bad guy?
Right. So like Eric, because the whole point of the story is that there is kind of this dynamic between like dads are both kind of like the greatest hero you could possibly have as a kid, but also they're kind of the greatest villain you've ever had as a kid, right? They tell you you're not allowed to go out, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, right? Like,
right.
And they're bigger and stronger and smarter and have resources. They have time. You don't know how they have time. Our dad was like straight up like magic with how he used his time and his money and like his resources and connections. If you wanted something in our family, he would never give it to you. He would find someone. He would find someone who knew how to do that thing, and he would have that person teach you that thing. Like that's who Dad was. He understood something. He understood like the value of us learning and the value of us having experiences. But to a 12-year-old boy, that's infuriating, right? Here's someone who clearly knows more than you, but
He can beat you wrestling, and they have all of the money in the world, but they won't spend it on video games.
they won't spend it on anything. And yet, like, it doesn't make any sense to you. It didn't make any sense to me until like I was in college, right? So much of it didn't make sense to me until I had even had Roy. And now I am this person to somebody else. I have accidentally become influential and have more money than this baby could ever. Like, Roy would be furious if he found out that I wasn't buying him toys, but buying groceries instead. No one even eats those, right? So would it make more sense for the boys to be brought to this school, and the school is just actively known as the Dark Lord's school? Like, the Dark Lord actively is just... It doesn't make sense for the Dark Lord to be raising heroes. Right? Would it make more sense to kind of change the story around a little bit so that when he does finally beat the Dark Lord, he is just kind of a loser, and that's the reveal, right? The reveal is, oh my gosh, you're kind of a loser.
You're just a guy.
You're just some dude. Would that be more powerful than having kind of this Spider-Man, this middle-aged Spider-Man story happening?
I kind of like the sneaking around.
Yeah?
Yeah. Where it's like, but at the same time, it could be that the boys don't see him very often. Because if we're really playing into the dad thing, so when they do see him, he is this powerful person. And
no, I like it being him. Like, when they do see him, he's kind of just a pencil pusher.
right.
Right? Because as a kid, you grow up and dad comes home.
It depends
and
how
it's
old
like
these boys are. 12.
12. Right.
Okay.
This is right at the age where the boys are starting to question, is dad actually the superhero I always believed him to be?
Right. Because if they were a little bit younger, then I would...
Oh, then he should be the Dark Lord.
Then he should be the Dark Lord. But if they're breaking into their teenage years, then he needs to be a pencil pusher.
No. Ooh, yeah, then he needs to be... They need to be 12. They need to be 12. Maybe even age them up further than that, huh? Maybe make them like 14.
Right.
Because, that's a really good point. Because, like, did you know that the most popular character in Star Wars for young boys is Darth Vader?
And Kylo Ren.
And Kylo Ren.
Who is obviously evil.
Very clearly evil. Like, they have a mask shaped like a skull.
Yeah.
Come on,
both
Jeremy.
of them kill people on screen.
Right. Like the first thing we see of Darth Vader is that he murks a man, right? Kills a very clearly good guy.
Right.
And yet somehow, like Sam is like, no matter what Sam wants to say, Sam is kind of a quintessential like little boy when he was growing up, right? Sam's favorite Pokemon were just whichever ones were the most powerful.
Right.
And certain Pokemon were designed to just look cool and in control.
But everybody likes Charizard. I mean.
Oh, Sam likes Gyarados and Gengar, right? And Groudon.
Oh.
Sam likes Pokemon that exude.
Start with the letter G.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize that.
I see now.
No. Wait, this is the wrong takeaway.
Giratina.
Whoa, he does like Giratina. Whoa.
I think we solved the mystery.
No, Mary, that's the wrong takeaway. Sam likes Pokemon that exude power because to a little boy, when he was really into Pokemon, he loved Pokemon that had power, right? He as a little kid, you don't have any control in your life.
And if you have older siblings, then you have even less control.
Right. And so you want to feel in control. So you choose partners, right, in your Pokemon games that give you that feeling of control and power.
Yeah. So if he, the dark...
Crobat doesn't start with G. That's what's up.
So I think that
So
they need
need
to be aged up a little bit.
They need to be aged up or aged down.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why I chose 12, is because 12 is at this age where you're starting to make choices, and Goose is kind of a he's just a little mature for his age, right? He's had to grow up a little faster. So that's why I kind of wanted them to be 12, because all the other boys don't even second guess it, right? All the other boys actually kind of like Principal Eric, right? They're like, oh, Principal Eric is kind of cool, right? He is really powerful. And you know, to Goose, he's like just this dude who shows up and makes speeches sometimes and keeps trying to connect with him.
Right. In that case, then let's keep them that young, and we'll just have it be he is a little bit more aged up. Like just he's a little bit older.
He's coded older.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like either that or he needs to actually be older, or we have kind of a contrast character who's like 7.
I like, well, the contrast character is supposed to be Art, right? Artie is supposed to be this guy who, because he lived, he's a kid who lived with a single dad. His life was awesome. His life was constantly this wonderful, exciting story, right? We're going on adventures. We're eating out of a bucket today, right? Like to him, like he had these amazing adventures with his dad, but his dad was just a single dad who convinced his son they were having excellent adventures.
Right.
Meanwhile, Goose had a single mom and he had to grow up really fast. And because he was this lie-about kid who was, he was a layabout kid, but really he was conserving power, right? He was learning his powers. And then he would suddenly, blow things up or punch something and it would explode. And he would be this kid who had to grow up faster. And so I don't think kids are going to be listening to this episode, so I feel okay saying this. But this story is kind of like a cross between it's like Santa Claus and growing up, right? Like this is very much a... like, wait a minute, Santa Claus is not real. Like, what are you saying to me right now? Right? Like that is a moment that is very big for a lot of kids.
Right.
I'm getting really into like the themes and stuff, but I think you're right.
I think it's important because this is very directly a relationship between a child and their dad.
Yeah.
And so it's like we have to lace that in everywhere. It's kind of like in Spy X Family, where he hires the entire squad to make his little fake daughter's experience real and exciting and stuff, and they're like, we're doing this
for our country,
and they're just
okay. Then the evil lady that he's dating has to be an evil stepmom, right? Because his relationship because Goose's relationship to
Goose's
sorry,
mom.
no, Goose's mom is a hardworking lady who he doesn't see often enough, right?
Okay.
But Eric needs to be dating a woman who is an evil stepmother, right? Because if Eric is Goose's like dad, right? Like archetypally, right? If he's the male figure in his life, then Goose needs to be dating someone who is the
Eric
worst.
needs to be dating.
Excuse me, not Goose. I keep saying Goose. Eric needs to be dating someone who's the worst. Oh man, I'm sorry. These are new names to me.
Sorry.
Eric needs to be dating someone who's the worst, or because Eric can't be dating someone like his mom, right?
Like Goose's mom.
Gosh dang. Eric needs to be dating.
Let me pull the iPad out.
Eric cannot be dating someone who is a hardworking, down-to-earth, strong woman.
Yeah. She needs
like
to be
Goose's mom.
like Goose's mom.
Right, Mrs. Goose.
Mrs. Goose.
He cannot be dating someone like Mrs. Goose. He has to be going through a midlife crisis and dating a wild and free.
He's like, she's so young at heart. No, she's just evil because she's eating hearts. Okay, here we go. Eric and
there we go. Now I have a visual aid. Right. The lady he needs to be dating needs to be someone who he can explain to what's actually going on. Right. He's trying to open up and be vulnerable. And this lady is a crazy redhead hairdresser, right? Slash your tires lady.
Right.
But he's like, oh, she's like young and hot. And it's like, oh, no, you're like drinking blood to make yourself young and hot.
Crazy.
Oh, you're insane. Right? Like, you're a danger to the realm.
Yeah. And he's like, ooh.
Right.
Actually.
Right. So at first he's kind of like leaning into it. At first he's kind of like, okay, like I'm the Dark Lord, right? Like I can date who I want.
Right.
I'm going to date the beautifulest lady in the land. And then he's like, no.
No.
Actually,
no.
We're not doing that.
So he kind of dates the Witch of the West. In a sense.
Yes.
All right.
I like this.
I think at this point, and like I feel like that's pretty solid with the more explanation and stuff, and kind of deciding what's solid between like the relationships with the characters. And
the age thing was really important. I think that I wasn't really thinking about it. Like, why? I just thought like 12 is like an arbitrary age, but if I'd made them like 10, it wouldn't work. And if it was 14, then like everybody else would also kind of be growing up right alongside him. 12 is kind of like that sweet spot of
where
how
you could
view.
still be innocent. You can start to be a little bit older.
And it does kind of flesh out the relationship between him and Eric as well.
That does age the audience down, though.
That's fine.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's kind of the point. Percy Jackson is a book that in Harry Potter, right? And I'm trying to think of something else that I read as a kid. Aragon. Yeah.
Aragorn?
Yeah, you got it. Okay. These
I think I said Aragorn the first time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Aragon.
Those are stories that include kids in them without excluding kids, right? They include adults in them without excluding kids.
Right.
I wanted to write something. The real reason that I wanted to write this is I pitched the idea of the Dark Lord's Home to Haley, and she said, you should write that. That one's not depressing. And she was right.
It's true.
I looked at all my other stories and I was like, these are really effing sad. These are so, so sad. Like most of these other stories are about like the death of like losing your faith and regaining your faith. And
which are real things, but
real things, right? Real things that people struggle through. Or I mean, Bales is not a happy story. Right. It might have a like happy-ish ending.
It's got like cute moments and fun characters,
sure,
and heartwarming moments, but
the ending is
not happy.
Wholesome, but it's not a happy ending. It's a very it's an ending at the cost of many, many things. It's an ending that accepts the brutal reality of life.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm even thinking about like Neverworld. I'm like, yep, That one is also
Neverworld's kind of friggin' sad.
not a
Right?
great ending either.
No,
Kind of about the loss of innocence.
I pitched Neverworld to Haley, and she got angry. She was like, "No, it can't end like that. No,
Oh, they have to grow up as friends.
they're gonna date and they're gonna get married and they're gonna live happily ever after." And
Sorry.
sorry, man. Like that's not how the story ends.
That's not how the story ends.
And the only other wholesome story we've got in our pockets is like, and even Danya's. Danya's is a heart wrenching story. Danya's is like a really,
We're going to play it pretty light.
right, but the ending is heart wrenching. The ending is this like, this. It is like the heartache of missing your loved ones, right?
Yeah. But I was going to play it real warm.
It's pretty fun and warm. I was gonna really like just jerk at those heartstrings at the end.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like a lot of the stories we have, they're not particularly happy.
They're not and I tell a lot of sad
Circadia
stories.
is, and
Circadia is really chill.
the fairy one
The fairy one is pretty fun.
is.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is one that I'm very determined to write. This is one that I'm actually very interested in, and when I'm done with Bales, I'm going to start on this one like right away.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
And this, like, while maybe this this creative corner was a lot of like, it wasn't a lot of gutting it as much as it was trimming it. I think that we've kind of seen in Creative Corner, right? We've had the first one that we did was Circadia.
Yep.
And that was still in the very early phases of character of development, right? We're just kind of
We had a setting, we had a character, we had a plot idea.
right. So we're working on plot, and then we did the fairy story, right? And the fairy story we gutted. We like completely like
We've had a magic system. We
switched main characters.
added villains.
Right. We completely re-rolled that character up, right?
But that was just two characters in a buddy cop story.
Yeah,
like
and
we didn't know what to do.
We completely redid this. And this one is a story that I've worked a lot on. I've thought a lot about. I've written a lot about it. I've kicked a lot of ideas around. And sometimes you do just need a little trimming. I think this one's ready to go. I just need to start writing it, and then it needs its editing, right? Like I think that I'll run into problems as I write it.
Right, but this one's really good and it's super fun. And I am very excited to actually read it because I love Terry Pratchett. I love Roald Dahl. I love kind of the chapter book version of a Dr. Seuss book, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
Yes.
those books just have such a wonderful flavor to them. And I know that you're very talented and that you're totally going to kill it.
You drew a piece recently for this, right? You drew a piece.
I'm working on it for my final.
Yeah. You should send it to me so that I can have it up during the part where we don't have video.
I'm working on it still.
That's fine. You showed me this and it got me excited. It got me really excited because this is not at all the vibe that I was going for with this story. But it made me think, it made me really just realize that this story has legs, right? The story invokes a thought in someone's mind. Just the name itself just beams the image into people's brains. The Dark Lord's Home for Chosen One Boys. Like, what on earth, right? Like, you immediately begin stewing on it.
Right.
It made me excited. It made me very, very excited. Your art is evocative, right? Like, that's the truth, right? Like,
Thank you.
it is.
I want to finish this piece up, and I'll probably sell it at DW.
Okay, cool.
If I get it done.
That'd be amazing.
I won't sell it under that name.
Sure.
But I'm very excited.
That's kind of my point, though, is that I think that the storytelling in this image is fantastic. We talked a lot about my story today. You really wanted to hear it. You really wanted to work through it. I'll be sure to come back to you about it because you brought some perspective to this I wasn't ready for. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know anything about kids.
I think Haley, she probably didn't make a lot of comments because it is a good story. And the things that you're passionate about, you're like, are you sure you want to do it this way?
Yeah.
And you're kind of nervous about that, but I'm like, it really just needed a nudge, and that was it.
Yeah.
You have a great story, and I'm very excited for you to write it after Bales.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, thank you for listening. This episode is kind of a mess production-wise.
Yeah, sorry, editing John. We love you.
Yeah, we love you, man.
You can't say that. It's you.
I love you. I love me. We're a happy family.
Oh,
You can
gosh.
find Sibling Scribbles wherever you're listening to it now. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast does not want me to make an account, so it is not happening.
Apple Podcasts.
Not Apple Podcasts. You can find Marin's art on all of our social medias. We'll be posting those soon. You can find our comic on shepherdcalledbales.com. And you can love yourself. You can love yourself. Don't be scared to bring your ideas to other people. Don't be scared.
Especially the ones that you're most passionate about and that you're nervous someone's going to completely, put a bowl in a china shop into. But
You've got to do it.
you've got to do it. John was like, I don't really think I want to do it this week.
I was so scared. I was so scared Marin was going to
Yeah.
destroy it.
Last week, he was like, what are we going to do next week? And I was like, let's do your story. And he's like,
I was so scared. I was so scared.
but it's fine. So keep writing, keep creating, and have a really wonderful week.
Yeah. Stay creative. Bye.
Bye.